Greetings everyone, Jim Walker here. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you are a returning viewer. A certain number of the lessons that I produce and post here on YouTube are designed specifically for my students as an embellishment and an extension of what we do in the lessons. Materials that I want to have available for them to review online between lessons, or to save time in lessons and be able to just send them to the video to check out the information on their own time. And this is one such video dealing with the multiple bounce roll on snare drum, and specifically the way that I was taught to practice it, and which has since become the way that I teach it. If someone's just starting out, even their first lessons and they're beginning as a drummer and they want to learn how to play a multiple bounce roll. It's a very simple sort of approach, but I found that it yields very good results and has helped the quality of my roll. So the first step is to ask the musical question, why do we play rolls on the snare drum? Basically, it's because the snare drum does not have a lot of inherent sustain. If we're in 4/4 and I'm playing whole notes, there'll be a little bit of ringing, but not enough sound to carry through 4 beats. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a little bit of the high-end harmonic ringing that's carrying through into beat 2. I can hear it from 2.5 feet away from the drum head. It might be getting into the microphones. I won't know until I play this back. But it's not really any sort of usable sustain. The same way as we're playing the piano when we hold down a key and the sound of the strings in the piano keep ringing. Or if someone's playing violin and they keep drawing the bow across the string. That sound is filling out 4 beats. So on drums, we emulate, simulate, we try to recreate that sustained sound with a roll, as in 2, 3, 4. Now we have 4 beats of sound to work with. So if we're trying to create one sustained sound, we want to eliminate things which will detract from that illusion of a sustained note. Because we're not getting one sustained note. We're getting a lot of very quick, repetitive strikes of the drum head through the bouncing of the sticks, hence multiple bounce roll, that if we can get it even enough and consistent enough and eliminate breaks, we get the effect of a sustained note. So that's what this practice method is designed to embellish and to encourage. The first step, and it's true whatever grip you use, matched, traditional, doesn't matter, you can practice the same sort of things with it. The first step is with each hand, try to develop the maximum number of bounces per motion of the hand. And you can accomplish that mainly by staying relaxed, but also varying how tightly, whether you're holding here or here, whatever your grip is at the fulcrum, holding loosely so the stick is free to move, and also experimenting with where you are holding on the stick. So if I hold really tight, the stick won't move. If I loosen up that grip, the stick is freer to move. More bounces. I'm going to exaggerate here. If I hold way up on the stick, I'm not going to get any bounces. If I hold all the way at the opposite end of the stick, I'll get a few bounces, but not as much as if I hold right around in here. So a little bit of a change, 1/2 inch up, 1/2 inch back, 1/4 inch back, can yield a subtle difference in the amount of bounces you can get. So that's the first step. With each hand, try to produce the maximum number of bounces. And you can tell from this that I am right-handed. My left hand is still not caught up with my right hand after these many years of playing. But the next step is to kind of overlap. Now, a lot of those bounces, keep in mind, you're going to lose that. And we're going to address that in the second video I'm going to record right after this. You're not going to keep all of those bounces. But at this step, you want an overlap. So just before the first stick stops bouncing, bring in the opposite hand. Something I'll mention to a lot of my students, they seem to want to wait for the first hand to stop before the second hand comes in. And what I'll have them do, and it breaks them of it very quickly, is just play both hands. It sounds pretty obvious, but it's just giving your hands permission to both be bouncing on the drum head at the same time, to have the sticks hitting the drum head at the same time, because that overlap is critical. Think back to when you were first starting out. I know I was guilty of this. I think most people were. I don't think most drummers picked up the sticks for the first time and had a Billy Gladstone snare drum roll. So you heard a lot of this for a roll. You heard a lot of, and you're getting that gap, that break in sound from one hand to the next. The illusion of the sustained note is broken when you do that. So if you start slowly, using all the bounces you're getting, overlap just a little bit, you get rid of that break. So now, no silence. There's a connection from one hand going to the next. You still don't get the illusion of a sustained roll, because with the number of bounces, you can hear that first couple of bounces being very loud, and then as the bounces continue, they get lower and lower and quieter and quieter. So you can hear where each hand enters in. The next step, start to speed up your hand speed until the sound smooths out. You will lose bounces at this point. You will not retain all of these bounces. Somehow, don't ask me how this works. Somehow if you start with that overlapping sound, the bounces overlapping, that lends itself to, at a faster tempo, that sustained sound we're looking for. But as you speed up, you lose some of those later, softer bounces. The volume level of the bounces you're getting becomes more consistent, and you don't hear the right, left of each hand coming in. So I'm going to speed up my hands. I don't have the greatest snare drum roll in the world. I will not make anyone forget Billy Gladstone. I will not make anyone forget Art Blakey. But it's okay. It's not bad. So I'm going to start slowly, work my way up until it sounds pretty smooth. And just to illustrate, at that point, I'm going to stop bouncing the sticks, just keep my hands moving. Again, for the benefit of my students, to show you don't have to have your hands moving 1,000 miles an hour to play a smooth roll. Let the sticks do the work. Your hands don't need to go. In fact, it's counterproductive. So use your ears. When it starts to sound smooth, that's the speed you want to go. And as I practice this, the same way I teach it, it's the same way I practice it. I go through that cycle a few times every time I sit down to practice the snare drum, starting slowly and speeding up. And I would recommend doing that at a variety of dynamic levels as well. You don't want to just have one volume level where you're comfortable rolling. You want to be able to play at a variety of dynamic levels, starting loud, starting soft, gradually getting louder or softer. You want to have that facility. So I practice this at a variety of dynamic levels as well. And just going through that has improved the quality of my rolls, like a trumpet player practicing long tones. So just going through that sort of a process. Last thing I'll mention in terms of getting a smooth roll, try to avoid playing dead center in the drum. That's a nodal point. It's a point of least vibrations. You've got the tension running across from the lugs, the tension rods that are across from one another. That meets in the middle. And we know this on snare drum. If we want to play with on drum set, if we want to play with a minimum of ringing, we'll play right in the middle. We want a little bit more ringing. I'm about 1.5 inches off of center. Center, off center. And it's not much, especially on an orchestral style setup snare drum, but that little bit of a ringing can offer just a little more sustain, which will help to fill out the sound of a note. So end part one of this video where we just go over the basic mechanics of how to practice the roll. In the next part of the video, I'm going to show a little experiment we did, recreate an experiment we did back in my freshman year of college. You see I've had this pad here that I haven't touched the whole time. That's coming back in part two. So thank you for checking out this video. Hope you come back and check out the next half of this video when it's up. Thanks again for your attention. Have a good day.